Who's that? Commander Claw. Who's bad? Commander Claw. Welcome back to another episode of Breaking Brews. I am your host, Commander Claw, and this series is where I bring you 5 cards about a commander that you should probably use, or you're looking for an idea. So hopefully these ideas are worthy of your time and worthy of adding into your deck. And also remember, help out the channel. All you got to do is add your card suggestions at the bottom in the comment section. Yep. So I like to use this as just like a reference for anybody else that's just looking to see other ideas that you can't find on EDH Rec or Reddit, or you just don't want to do all that reading on Reddit, but you came to this video. Thank you. Anyway, we're bringing in Firion, Wild Rose Warrior from the new Final Fantasy, and this is the Final Fantasy spoiler season going on right now. So much anticipation, and this mono red commander is all about equipments, and it is a haste enabler. Let's get more into the card. Let's break it down. For 2 and a red, a 3/3 body, legendary human rebel warrior. I got to start looking at more cards that have rebel synergy, because they've been adding this a lot as a card type in the Final Fantasy set. Back to Firion. Equipped creatures you control have haste. Okay. Then it says, whenever a non-token equipment you control enters, create a token that's a copy of it, except it has this equipment's equipability costs 2 less to activate. Sacrifice that token at the beginning of the next upkeep. Ooh. Let's break this down. So all the creatures that you equip will be granted haste if Firion is on the battlefield. What's really good about this commander, it copies the artifact equipments that you put into play. Okay? Then it reduces the equip cost by 2. Then the token doesn't leave the battlefield until the next upkeep. Why this is good? A, you get a copy of your equipment. B, it's another artifact. So we're looking at enter the battlefield abilities for artifacts entering. Okay, that's a thing. Then it also has a leave the battlefield trigger. Okay, and it's an artifact still. Then it also doubles up whatever ability on the equipment in a way, because it's another copy of that. So with that in mind, let me give you the cards. Let me give you my top 3 equipments for this card. I think you're really going to like them. So immediately I thought of Bloodforged Battle Axe when I saw Firion. For 1 mana, artifact equipment, equipped creature gets +2/+0. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a token that's a copy of Bloodforged Battle Axe, equipped 2. First of all, anything that's going to have equipped 2, if you have Firion on the battlefield, will be able to equip for free when you cast the artifact equipment. Remember that. So this calls for you to be very time oriented when you're casting your artifact equipments. Next up is +2/+0. I like that. Okay, for 1 mana, +2/+0, that's a really good rate, and it's colorless, so it's not too hindering. Now, this is the other thing I need to get clarification on. Whenever an equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a token that's a copy of Bloodforged Battle Axe. Now, if this is the copy version from Firion, and it's equipped to a creature and it does combat damage to a player, will the token that's created from this Bloodforged Battle Axe, the one that's copied from Firion, be the same series or the same requirements that it needs to be sacrificed at the beginning of next upkeep? I believe the answer is yes. However, that's still good because that's more artifacts on the battlefield, which leads to my next artifact equipment that you want to use. Adaptive Omni Tool for 2 mana, artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. I think this synergizes as well. We're making a bunch of artifact equipment tokens, copies of the powerful artifact equipment tokens we want on the battlefield. And remember, with Firion, they won't be sacrificed until the beginning of the next upkeep. So extra combats are extra important for Firion also. Then it says, whenever equipped creature attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Equip 3. So right there, we are looking at the top 6 cards to find another artifact card, most likely an artifact equipment, because that's what the deck is going to be mostly built around, to put into our hand and to later on cast. Just keeping yourself set up for the next round of combat phases. And remember, this is equip 3, so it will only cost equip 1 if Firion is on the battlefield and you triggered its ability. Okay, this is the big boy. This is one of the big boys. Blade of Cells for 2 mana. Artifact equipment. Equipped creature has Myriad. First of all, you can have multiple instances of Myriad. So if you make a copy of Blade of Cells and you equip it to a creature, that creature could have the Myriad ability from the first Blade of Cells. And if you equip it with the Blade of Cells copied from Firion, that's 2 instances of Myriad. So imagine putting that on your favorite creature to make multiple copies of that creature attacking each of your opponents. Yes. So let me read what Myriad is, because I kind of explained it. Whenever it attacks, for each opponent other than defending player, you may create a token that's a copy that's tapped and attacking that player or planeswalker they control. Exile the tokens at end of combat. Yeah. So imagine one of your non-legendary, most powerful creatures having Myriad. 2 instances of Myriad. Also, there is the legendary rule that applies. So if you equip it to a legendary creature, you're making copies of those creatures and they have to be sacrificed for the legendary rule, which triggers death triggers, which you might set yourself up for, or as in you put in your deck building template. You know what I mean? Just giving y'all ideas. It has equip 4 with Firion. It can have equip 2 for the copy of it. Makes this even more devastating. Moving on to the next. I think this is one of the most sneakiest cards in all the Lost Caverns of Ixalan and is not talked enough in a lot of YouTube channels. Dowsing Device for 1 and a red. It is an artifact. Whenever Dowsing Device or another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, up to 1 target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. You like that. You're making copies of artifact equipments, which will trigger its ability, and you can give target creature +1/+0 and haste. That is nasty. So you're not reliant on equipping creatures just to give them haste. See what I'm saying here? Anyways, then transform Dowsing Device if you control 4 more artifacts, which you will, into Geode Grotto over here. It becomes a land/cave. For all you got to do is it's a land. Tap it for red mana. Otherwise, tap 2 and a red until end of turn. Target creature gains haste and gets +X/0, where X is the number of artifacts you control. Activate only as a sorcery. So this is a power buff on a land, and lands are very hard to get rid of unless a player specifically has destroy target non-land. Yeah, really good card. Moving on to Firion being in the 99 of other commanders. Okay, so with this commander, this is Nahiri Force and Fury. She is on EDH Rec. She has the most decks built for an equipment commander. She costs 4 on Boros on a 5/4 body legendary core artificer. She has affinity for equipment. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each equipment you control. With Firion in your deck, you are making additional copies of equipment cards that you enter the battlefield or that you casted. Okay, so this makes her ability or casting her that much better. And essentially, you can cast her for 2 mana. It gets ugly. Whenever a equipped creature you control attacks, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. You may cast equipment spells this way without paying their mana cost. So obviously, Firion, Wild Rose Warrior, is a equipment commander. You're going to have your deck loaded with equipments anyway. And you also don't have to attack with Nahiri herself in order to trigger her ability. And it triggers for each equipped creature. So also with Firion, you're creating an additional equipment and you're able to reduce the equipment costs to attach it to creatures. This is a nice all-out assault with equipments on a creature or creatures. And being able to cast equipment spells for free, that is a W. Then it would trigger again with Firion entering the battlefield. or on the battlefield if you casted something from the top of your library with Nahiri. Yeah. Probably my most favorite equipment commander, Chishiro, the Shattered Blade from the Precon. For 2 red and a green, which is Gruul, 4/4 body, legendary snake, Shamara. Whenever an aura or equipment enters the battlefield under your control, create a 2/2 red spirit creature token with menace. Oh, with Firion on the battlefield and you cast a artifact equipment and you have Chishiro on the battlefield, you just get an extra 2/2 red spirit creature token with menace from the equipment entering, the copied equipment entering. That's why I gotta tell you about this card. I'm telling you, this is one of my favorite commanders. It really is. Like, when was the last time you seen a Snake Samurai? Kamigawa, the original? Yeah. Anyways, back to Chishiro. At the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each modified creature you control. So he makes creatures and he buffs creatures. That's why I like Chishiro. And it's Gruul. So you get the ability from green to add more mana. What are you talking about here? In the top right-hand corner, I got a video on this guy. Hope you click on it and enjoy it if you're looking to build him as your commander. Firion, Wild Rose Warrior. Pretty cool commander for equipments. Final Fantasy has just been, I would say, equipment focused. Makes sense, obviously. But man, I just didn't expect the commanders to have these abilities. I really think they did a good job of designing these commanders and adding these commanders game design for older cards, making them even more relevant. And they're making equipments and Voltron viable right now because of the color pips and the equipment's ability and the lower equipment cost. If you never played with equipments before, they can be, I would like to say, clunky to cast and equip. So that's why it's important to have equipment commanders that expedite that entire process. If you like the video, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching.